So I work at UNLV. I work for the Women's Center, Teenage Women's Center. It's amazing. We do a lot, not only just with sexual violence, but other social justice issues. For instance, right now we're working on reproductive justice and really looking at women of color, also incorporating in men's piece, not just to the reproductive part, but also to the violence piece. So really helping or allowing men to feel safe to speak out against violence, as well as to speak out about their own survival and their own experiences with sexual assault or domestic violence. Mm-hmm. So just getting ready is the funnest part for me, because I just put myself in this space of, positive energy, and, light my incense and my candles, and kind of really take everything that's going on in the world or your day, and you transform. So I think it's really so powerful when you put on that face, because you forget a lot of, obviously you're still you, but you changes. So it's pretty amazing. Society tells you you're supposed to act or do things a certain way, and so you're often, it becomes like this barrier of not really allowing yourself to be free, even though we try to be as free as we can, when we're not in face. But once you put on that face, there's something that's just removed, and you can be whoever you want to be. That's why it's so important to create that, or that persona becomes to really kind of take on you as Lola and you as Christina. It becomes, it allows you to also be freer. I don't know if I'm making sense, but be freer when you are at a face, because you have experienced that, and you're like, God, I really like being that person. I really like just taking all of this shame or guilt that people have put on you, or society has put on you, and kind of just let that go and be. To bring joy, that's something that we all do so well when we're in face, and just, when you walk into a room, you do light that room. You remind people of the good things in life. And so I think that you still bring so much joy as a sister to people and in different ways, right? So, one day you can walk up to someone and their experience or their feelings towards you can be completely different from the next day, depending on how their day was. Did they have a shitty day and they just want to go unload, or are they really struggling with something? And just seeing that happy, colorful person to kind of say, it's okay to be whoever you are. And so I think that even if I didn't have some of those other elements like SADF or, my work, I think that there would still be so much joy in it, because you could change someone's life in an instant, in that smile, in that telling them they're beautiful. I've only been out not that long ago, 5.5 years, and I didn't really know much about the lesbian community, didn't really know much about the queer community in and of itself. Kind of came into be and began experiencing and getting to know people. I think that there are a lot of really strong lesbians out there who are doing a lot of great stuff in activism and really trying to bring women out and to have fun, but also to talk about some of these issues that we often don't want to talk about, and just fighting for, in the queer community, often, it's considered, you always hear it referred to as the gay community, and how important it is to really kind of go away from that, because, and whether you use queer, whether, you use LGBTQAI, whatever it is that you want to use to be all-encompassing, but I think that it's really an important part of women to kind of speak out and say, we are a part of this community, and, and there are some women that identify as gay, and that's completely fine, because it's your identity, and you can identify however you want. But really, I feel that women oftentimes, not just in the queer community, but in general, we've always been kind of in the shadows, and when you see the film Milk, for instance, it was a huge discussion with some of our some of the women involved in our community who are like, you know, where were the images of women of color, of our, you know, of our trans community in that film, you know, who really were instrumental in really helping him. Of course, he was the face and he did a lot and it was amazing. But not just in that example, but in so many other examples, you see that women are often put kind of to the back burner, and it's really the men who are championing, or, you know, the men that are doing all of these things. And I think you see that in the queer community as well, as, you know, all of these men who are, you know, in these powerful positions who really influence and do a lot for our community. But what about those women that are also doing those things? And often they're not, their efforts are not, I wouldn't want to say valued, but showcased as some of the men's are. I mean, I think it's really about just putting yourself out there and really talking about some of the things that there are so many women that are doing in our community, and kind of just educating and not forgetting that history of, you know, our struggle, or what it is to be a woman, and then on top of that, you add to be a, you know, queer woman. And then if you add, you know, a queer woman of color, I mean, there's all these different barriers that, or identities that are kind of compiled together that people need to be aware of. Because even if you look at our own community, it's predominantly white. Even if you look at the sisters, they're predominantly white. So, you know, how do we make this space where we are able to, that other people feel that they are able to contribute or able to be a part of this, instead of, you know, and sometimes it is important to have our own spaces. So when we look at, you know, queer women of color, you know, maybe they want to be on their own, in their own space, and that's fine. But how, again, do we kind of allow them to take on some of the roles that other people are doing? That's a good question. I mean, I think it's about also going, because I think oftentimes what we do is we stay in our little niche, in our comfort zone, you know, and I mean, we do definitely do, you know, straight events as well, and, you know, sometimes like going into the casinos in and of itself. I remember my first time going into a casino, I was scared as hell, you know. I was like, oh my god. It was one of our first manifestation, well, not one of our first, but we did like this whole getting ready together, and then we manifested. We went to the stratosphere, and I remember being scared, and really not just for me, because I think that people see me and that's the first thing that they see is my boobs, and they'll, oh, you know, she's a woman, which is problematic in and of itself, I think, because to me, to be honest, I always hate to be asked if I'm, you know, are you the woman sister? You're the female sister, and I think it's so not important, you know, whether I'm a female or a male, or however I identify. I don't think that that's necessarily important, but to them it's that, like, oh, you're a woman, so it's okay for you to be in that skirt, or it's okay for me to be dressed the way that I'm dressed. But here are my other sisters who are men who, oh, you know. So even then, at that time, I remember feeling like, wow, I'm scared, not scared for me, but I'm scared, like, we're in a pretty straight environment, and could there be some repercussions when we're walking out to our car, you know, and I'm sure other sisters feel that. You know, for a lot of the sisters that were with me who were men, who were in little skirts, you know, and it's obvious that they are men. So I think that even just doing some of those things, because one, it takes us out of our comfort zone, and it does disturb the comfortable, and it also allows other people that are not in our community to understand who we are and why is it that we do this work. And I think that that's happening already. There are so many straight folks who kind of know already who the sisters are and are really attuned to our message and our goals. And so it's kind of bringing, you know, you see that in our red dress, a lot of straight people who come, who identify as straight, who come, and a lot of the men, which was great seeing, you know, that they're really kind of embracing this, hey, I'm gonna wear a dress, why not? It's a fun night, and who cares, you know? Like, me being straight doesn't have nothing to do with that, you know, it's for a good cause. And so we're getting a lot more of that, but I think that it's difficult because, especially if you're talking about a very, you know, conservative community, there's different ways of approaching that, and so that takes a lot of strategic planning to figure out.